I was thinking, as you were saying, I was like, how am I going to sort of set up this interview? And the thing that comes to my mind, and it's been helpful in other sort of innovative technologies, new technologies in the market, is to tell people what's the old way of doing it. What's the standard, so that people know what we're comparing to. So how would this standardly be done?
The interesting thing is that these instruments have been around for a long time. In the oil and gas, they started the borehole surveying well over a century ago.
Yeah.
So the concepts and the instruments themselves are not new. I mean, you could say compare it to automobiles, like they've been around for a long time, but they're still innovations,
Right.
obviously. But what we do is try and progress it in terms of accuracy, the depths you can go to, the power consumption, the safety,
the ease of using the products in the field. But I mean, you can go back to medieval times when they surveyed a borehole. You know, okay, today we have boreholes that can be 4,000 meters long, 6,000 meters long.
Amazing.
But even, you know, long time ago, you wanted to drill a short hole, they would have like a line with a little light on, and they held that down the hole, and they could see if the light was going to the right or to the left, etc. Just visually inspecting.
Right.
But that just gives you a general idea of which direction the hole was going in.
Right.
But now we have instruments that can, you know, over 5,000 meters, say, you can know within, say, half a degree of where it's heading.
Wow, it's amazing.
What you're after.
Yeah, and if you go back to like I guess 1930s or something, you know, nearly 100 years ago, you wouldn't have digital sensors or computers and things like that. So one method they would be using is a photographic method, actually. So they would have a sensor system that could measure inclination and direction in the hole. And the instrument would have like little gauges, little needles, and they would place a camera on top of that. And also have a little timer clock. So they would photograph like a little pendulum showing inclination, and like a little compass needle showing direction, and then a little clock, so you know when you're taking the photo. And then when the system gets back to surface, you take out a little miniature film, and you develop that, and somebody will sit in a dark room and look at the whole film and see like, okay, that's, and they will also have a log
on the
surface of you know, a stopwatch or something. Okay, note down, now I will take this shot at 50 meters, 100 meters, etc. And they would actually visually note down all the angles at certain readings, and then they would, you know, with pen and paper, calculate the coordinates of the hole.
I hope our editors can find online some images of that. That'd be quite neat to show.
I think we have some at the office. But
yeah, please send.
Yeah.
Even to this day, there are people who still call all instruments of this kind cameras.
Yeah.
Oh, that's where I've seen that.
They call in, I need to buy a camera, and that's the reason.
Right.
Yeah.
Even though there's no cameras
back then, I mean, those systems were fairly big, but as film industry and you know, progressed, the systems would get smaller.
Yeah.
But I think the like service systems in the oil and gas industry, they kind of looked like that all the way up to the 80s.
Wow, that's not that long ago.
Electronics, you know, analog electronics, etc. And I can't remember from the top of my head right now, but I know that, for instance, you know, they introduced like, what would you call that, Duncan? Like, it's like, you know, instead of inspecting the film visually, you would have like a digitizer board, you know, feeding it through. And
have some sort of optical recognition of the measurements.
Right.
So it would still rely on an optical reading, but a person didn't have to do it.
Right. Yeah. It's so interesting.
Digital camera reading it off. Yeah.
Right. That's so funny that they still say camera, and because I've seen that, and I literally, I think I just recently saw that and went, okay, I don't quite understand this now. It was confusing me, but now I get it.
That's sort of an older generation thing.
Yeah. I just saw it somewhere, but okay, so when you started the company, what was the first product that you started with? Where was, because you're sort of into refining existing technology, making it better. Where did you start?
Well, we started designing a gyro surveying system. So it's basically a system with accelerometers, so you can measure gravity, and gyros, so you can navigate orientation. Because at the time when we started our company, that was kind of the hype back then, to be able to survey a borehole inside the drill rods with a gyro surveying system. And our expertise and background is actually with miniature or MEMS accelerometers and gyros.
Yeah.
So we kind of started out from
because
what we knew.
at that time, the little MEMS sensors were just in the gyro sensors, at least, were reaching the point of their development that they were becoming accurate enough for use in this. That was sort of the key part of that, using these smaller, usually cheaper instruments.
Yeah, so back when we worked with that research institute we talked about, the reason that we happened to start with that there is that that institute called IMEGO, they had one of the world's best MEMS gyros. So back in the early 2000s, there were only a few gyros around the world of the right size, small size enough, and high accuracy enough to be able to be used in a borehole survey system. 10 years later, when we started our company, that technology had matured enough that you could commercially buy these on the market. The driver for that was actually, I'd say, the expansion of the gaming industry. Little game controllers. And
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because back, like you go back 20, 30 years ago, it would be predominantly, a drive in the military industry. And then it was the car industry. But in the recent, I say 15, 20 years, it's really like, game controllers for your PlayStation or drones and things like that.
Yeah, drones especially now.